Okay, let's get started. So we're gonna do another Q&A video. If you're new here, all of these questions come from Instagram. If you haven't joined me on Instagram, I promise you, it is the best way to submit any question, ask me anything, and sometimes the best way to get in touch with me. I like to post one of those Ask Me Anything stickers on stories, and you can submit any question that you have on there. I usually try to reply to everybody with at least one message or a voice note. Obviously, some questions deserve their own space and are more appropriate for a longer form video like this. So a lot of these questions are focused around growing a luxury brand, just so that you have some context on what my experience is in growing business. So I started in the world of art, but I went into marketing as a way to be creative. I ended up getting very good at growing businesses. And in my 20s, that was the reputation that I had. I was the person that you called if you had very ambitious growth goals. I won a couple of awards for marketing. This is also my second business. If this is the first time you're joining us, I'll give you a little context. It's called Carra Club. It was in development for about a year before it even launched. We're really focusing on creating the conditions for a safe and transformative place for the people that are leading luxury and ultra luxury brands to take their businesses to the next level. I like to think of the business of like a growth atelier where there's things that we're going to do that are going to become hallmarks of the brand. There's things that we might just do once and look back on as important moments in our archive. It could be an exclusive summit, it could be a growth accelerator, a private dinner, even books. Okay, let's get into the questions. The first question is, why am I attracting the wrong clients? And obviously, the right answer is going to be one that's specific to you and your business. I think with all of these questions, there's only so much advice that I can give that's generalized advice, and hopefully you can take what fits and leave the rest. I'll talk about one of the most common reasons why you could be attracting the wrong clients. The first could be that your branding is off, so it's not aligned with the actual vision of your business. I often see this mismatch of a luxury business that does amazing work but does not actually have a luxury brand. So even though they can do really incredible work, they're not putting that expectation out. So when they are attracting clients, those clients might feel like they need to vet the company a lot more. They don't quite grasp how qualified the company is. They might be hiring them to do a much smaller job or something that the brand is way overqualified for. They don't have an understanding of the brand's offerings. All of this goes back to like expectations and delivery. There's really two parts of a business. You are setting up the expectation of how it's going to feel when somebody engages with you. And then on the other end of that, you can think of this as the actual business part. This is branding versus business. You can think about the actual business end. That's how you're delivering on those expectations. If your capacity to deliver is at a very high quality, seamless experience, but that's not what you're projecting outwards, you're probably still going to attract clients, but those clients are going to end up feeling pleasantly surprised. And so feel like you've been having that experience with clients where they're coming in and they're like, I had no idea this is what you were capable of, or you guys are way better than I imagined. It might be a very good time to reevaluate your brand and make sure that it's elevated to the same height as your ability to deliver. One reason you could be attracting the wrong clients is that you're showing up in the wrong places. The CEO or founder of a luxury brand, it doesn't matter whether you started the business yourself or you came into the business. If you come from a background like a mass consumer background, it can be difficult to reel back your marketing and PR efforts to take a very curated, high targeted approach. Just because generally in business, the advice is like you want to reach the most eyeballs. When you think of your marketing funnel, you want as many leads as possible at the top so that you can finally like narrow it down and narrow it down to like the people that are going to be your clients at the end of that. And I think with in the luxury brandings and in the top of your funnel where you're showing up and having a marketing presence, generally aligned with the type of person that would end up purchasing. Not every single person that's interested in your brand is going to buy from you. I'm not saying that at all, but we'll go to the right places. A great resource we have is our billionaire social calendar that we're planning to launch if we haven't launched it already by the time that this video comes out. But you want to be very, very selective. And the higher up you go in the luxury spectrum, there's only going to be, if you are truly a luxury brand or an ultra luxury brand, there's not going to be like that many opportunities that are your opportunities. A good example I like to give is Chanel advertises in Vogue. And a lot of people receive issues for Vogue magazine, but Chanel high jewelry, like their custom jewelry part of the brand, they're not going to advertise in Vogue. They're going to advertise in maybe a magazine like Crown or Billionaire magazine, something that's more targeted to the kind of person that would be able to afford and be interested in creating really extravagant, custom, family heirloom type of pieces. So where you're showing up definitely matters so that you can get people that are qualified for your brand, but that people that also have the kind of taste that your brand is in line with. Okay, next question. How do I raise prices without losing clients? I don't think that you should ever raise prices just for the sake of raising prices. You want to have a strategy that's supporting the rise in prices. That could be creating a new category of your brand with higher quality premium or offers that would justify a rise in prices for this new category. If you are trying to move your brand in the direction of, let's say, a premium brand, turning it into a luxury brand, turning it into an ultra luxury brand, if you're trying to move the entire umbrella of your brand up the luxury ladder and you've done massive investments in craftsmanship and storytelling, then yes, that justifies a rise in prices. If there's been a market change where you used to have other competitors in your space and now some of them have gone out of business, you're one of two or the only person in that category that can do the kind of work that you are doing, you can raise your prices. The fact that what you offer has now become more rare as a result of what happened in the market, increase your prices so that it reflects that new sense of value that's been assigned to your brand. Does that make sense? You never want to raise prices for the sake of making more money. Obviously, if you've been underpricing, then you need to match the actual value of your offering. Generally, when you're raising prices, if you don't want to lose clients, there has to be a strategy that supports the rise in prices so that your clients understand and go on that journey with you. Okay, next question. People love my brand, but they hesitate to buy. Can you help? There could be a couple reasons here. I want to start with the fact that because you have a luxury brand, if that's what you're creating or you're building, there's going to be a lot of people that just love the idea of luxury and are going to love your brand from that perspective. You don't want to exclude this audience. You can think of this as like they're your supporters. They're like advocates for your brand, even though they might not be clients themselves. So definitely embrace everybody who loves your brand and know that not everyone is in a position to buy from you. So you shouldn't have any expectation that everyone that loves your brand is going to be a client. If people are hesitating to buy, one of the things you might consider is whether it's clear on how people can engage with you. So maybe they love the brand, but it's not clear where they could buy, how to get in contact with somebody. It could also be possible that with your marketing, you've made it seem like you are out of reach for this person, even though they might truly be the right client. Actually, like Colin Cowie, he wrote a book called The Gold Standard. In it, he talks about he's an event planner. He has done incredible ultra luxury weddings for celebrities, a lot of notable people. And one of the things that he talks about in his book is that because he did so much work in that category, there's been a lot of people that, even though they love his work, go in with the perception that they cannot possibly afford his company. And then they don't reach out at all. If they don't reach out, they don't go through the process of becoming a client. He talked about seeing that retrospectively in his career as a mistake. So that is one possibility. Your marketing has painted a perception that you are out of reach, even for the person that your brand actually serves. Next question, how do I grow without going mass? So first of all, there's so many different ways to grow a luxury brand. A lot of the time we think, okay, if I want to grow the business, and the only way to do that is to make that more accessible or more affordable. So kind of going down market, that's not at all the only explanation here. The way that I like to explain this is that if I tell you to count to 10, the end result is I want you to get to 10. But you could add 0 and 10, 1 and 9, 2 and 8. You can also add multiples, 3 plus 6 plus 1. So there's all of these different ways to kind of grow a luxury brand and still end up with the same results. A lot of the time when I hear somebody ask a question like this, how do I grow without going mass? Because they've already thought in their head that this is the only way to do it. And that is absolutely not correct. And just to give you some inspiration and ideas, very simple foundational concepts, and then you really have to kind of build strategy off of it. You can increase the number of clients, which means that the number of clients that you already serve, you want to find more of those same clients. Another way to grow your business is to double your pricing. Obviously, you have to have done something to justify the rise in prices, but that's one way to grow your business by making investments that now put you in a different category of luxury. You can increase your average order value. That's another way to grow your business without even getting new clients. So the same clients that you already have, getting them to engage with you in a deeper way. Maybe if they're buying a piece of jewelry from you, they'll get a couple of things from the same collection, organizing a sales strategy and marketing strategy around that. But the important thing to keep in mind, honestly, there's endless ways to grow a business. Even for your business specifically, there's still going to be a wide range of solutions where you can end up in the same place. Okay, how do I reach high-level buyers? One way to do that is to be in the right place at the right time. The Billionaire Social Calendar, it'll tell you throughout the year where you can find ultra affluent people and billionaires. So I think as a business, you need to be where your clients are. You need to exist in their world. They're not required to exist in yours. The ultra affluent live by their calendar. You definitely need to get on it if you are trying to reach high-level buyers. Another piece of advice I would give is that you want to understand the kind of like media that your clients are exposed to. So what kind of magazines they read, what kind of media they consume, what websites they go off of, what they have subscriptions for, maybe what podcasts they listen to. All of those things might be helpful in establishing a PR or a marketing strategy, understanding what kind of collaborations might be helpful so that you're creating a universe around that client where they might see you at an event, but you're also on the podcast they listen to. And maybe they receive something in the mail, or you were featured on a magazine that they read. So you can create a brand universe around your clients or potential clients. And not everybody is going to see your messaging, but that's fine, right? You want to be very intentional. When you're reaching high-level buyers, you want to be very intentional about, where you're placing, where you have a presence and who's receiving your messages. What's the mindset shift that unlocked real growth for you? Over the course of my career, growing businesses, the mindset shift that really changes things for someone is that they have to understand that it's not just their business that has to change, but that they also need to change. I like to say that the CEO of a $10 million company and the CEO of a $100 million company are not the same CEO, even when they are the same person. A $10 million business has certain challenges, has certain growth opportunities, and $100 million businesses is operating at a different level. If you were capable of leading your company to that, you would already have that business, but you don't have that business. So you have to invest in becoming the version of yourself that can manage that new level of growth. So understanding that there's certain things that you're going to have behind, maybe it's like micromanaging or a sense of control that you currently have over your business. Maybe you have certain fears or misconceptions that you've internalized. And all of this comes back to the idea that brands themselves, they don't dream, they don't goal set, they don't cry, they don't worry, they don't stay up at night like putting together a vision board of what they could be and worry about, brands don't do that. The people behind those brands and responsible for that growth are the ones doing that. If you want your brand to grow, you also have to grow and do a lot of self-examination. Sometimes that can be done through journaling, through meditation, sometimes it's therapy, sometimes it's coaching. But I do think it's an important part of the process where you have to become a different person. You have to become the kind of person that has that type of business. I think that one is the key to everything. Hopefully this video was helpful. This was my advice for growing a luxury brand. And hopefully this gave you some insight on areas that might be holding you back. Maybe it gave you some ideas, some inspiration, maybe a better understanding of why your luxury brand isn't growing and how to fix it. And again, if you have a question, I try to reply at least once to every single message that comes my way. So that's definitely the place to be. All right, see you in the next one.